Okay, so this is the way that I came up with for you to do the fish sticks lab virtually. So everywhere it says colored craft sticks in your paper, what it actually means is one of these rectangles. Okay, so let's take a look. Yesterday you were supposed to do the first 2 pages, so I'm going to go over those with you to make sure that you have the correct answers, because you need to have all of these correct before you can start in on the actual lab. So first thing you had to do was write in the genotypes for each color. So the green, we know that green has a dominant allele. It is a dominant gene for the skin color. So anytime we see a G, anytime there's a G, it's going to take over and make the fish's phenotype green. So we know capital G will be green. We know that capital G, anytime you draw a green strip with a red strip, then it's going to be written as capital G lowercase r, because R is recessive to green, so the green takes over. So that also applies to yellow. So as you're working, if you get a green strip and a yellow strip, that means you have a heterozygous dominant green fish. So the fish will be green. All right, for red, you should have, basically, it could be written as 2 R's. That's the only way that you're going to end up with a red fish, because green is dominant and it's going to take it over. Okay, for the yellow, the only way you're going to have a yellow fish is if you have 2 yellow strips. Oh, you can't see the yellow, so I'm going to use black. There we go. Two yellows. Okay. Now for orange, it says they're co-dominant. So that means that when you have a yellow and a red together, they're going to mix together like paint. So if you mix red and yellow paint, it's going to create the color orange. So anytime you have orange, it's got to be a combination. It's either a capital R and a capital Y, because they're both dominant genes in this case, or a capital Y and a capital R. Okay, so when you're looking over these questions, it says, can 2 redfish mate and have green offspring? Okay, well, we have to set up our Punnett square. I'm going to put, this would be like the mom fish. She's red, so she has RR. Daddy fish has RR as well, because R is a recessive gene. The only way it's showing up is if you have 2 recessive genes together. That's homozygous recessive. Okay, so now you have to fill out your Punnett square. So you should have brought down an R from mom and brought over an R from dad and filled it in this way. Okay, and then here again, it's repeated. All right, and again, RR. So since all of the genes are the same, you know that all of the babies are going to have the same genes. They're all going to be homozygous recessive. So that means all of your redfish have 2 red genes. So the question here says, can 2 redfish mate and have green offspring? Why or why not? So if you put the answer because they're both red, no, they can't have green, that's not quite what we're looking for. For all of your answer choices, you should have talked about the words dominant and recessive. Okay, so in this case, we know that green is dominant to red. So 2 redfish cannot have a fish that offspring that is green, because red is recessive to green. So green cannot be carried over as recessive in any of your fish populations. So that's what your answer should express. It should say something along the lines of no, because green is dominant to red. Okay, and your answer doesn't have to match mine exactly, but it should talk about either red is recessive to green or green is dominant to red. Okay, so for the next one, it says, can two orange fish mate and have red offspring? Why or why not? Well, if I look back up here, I only have two choices for orange fish. It's either R and Y or Y and R, and they're both capitalized because they are co-dominant. So here, for my mom fish, I could have YR. For my daddy fish, I'm going to have YR. Okay, and again, I bring one down and one over. So in this first box, I have homozygous yellow. Okay, here I bring one down, one over. So I have a heterozygous orange fish. Bring my R over, my Y down. Again, I have heterozygous orange. Then over here, I have two reds. Okay, so I did produce red offspring with my orange fish. Now I have to explain why. Remember, I'm using my vocabulary, dominant or recessive. Well, here it's yes, because orange fish have co-dominant red gene, and red and yellow genes. Okay, so because there's always a red gene involved in making a orange fish, we know that the offspring can receive that red gene. Okay, here it says, can two green fish mate and have orange offspring? Why or why not? Okay, well, if I look back up here, I have three choices for green fish. So I could have used any of those combinations. I'm going to say, let's have mom be, that should be a lowercase y. So here it should be heterozygous dominant for green. And we'll do the homozygous green over there. And maybe do one here for red. So mom and dad are both green, but mom here has the recessive yellow gene and dad here has the recessive red gene. And you could have used all three, but you didn't necessarily have to do all three Punnett squares. So if you fill this out by bringing them down, here I didn't end up with any other color other than green because they all have that dominant green allele. So I'm going to work through this one. Oh, I made a mistake there. That should be a lowercase r because it is a recessive gene. So there we go, lowercase. But here you notice that if I bring down this yellow and I bring over this red, I end up with that co-dominant red and yellow. They can have an orange fish. Well, why? Remember, I have to talk about dominant and recessive. So you should have had something along the lines of yes, because green fish can carry recessive red and yellow genes. And we know those genes combine because they are co-dominant, and that makes our orange fish. Okay, so there's all the answers you should have from yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here, and then I will start a new video to explain how to work through part 2 of the Fish Sticks lab.